First things first, head over to mongodb.com and we're going to click on Get MongoDB to download it. Now, you should be taken to the MongoDB Download Center, and the first tab that's usually selected by default is their cloud service, so the MongoDB Atlas service, which we're going to explore a little bit later on when we actually deploy our database. But for now, we want to choose the Servers tab. And down here, you should have your Windows version already pre-selected, and we're going to select the current version of MongoDB. Now, it's really important that you change this package from zip to MSI, because this is going to download a installation wizard and it'll make everything a lot easier for us going forwards. So once you're done here, then just go ahead and click download. And now download should begin. Now, once download has completed, you should be able to head into your downloads folder and see this installation wizard. It's going to be called something like MongoDB something.msi. And this is going to be your installer. And so now, if you double click on it, it will launch the installation wizard. And all you have to do is click Next, and then we're going to accept the terms of the license, and then we're going to choose the complete installation, and then you're going to select Run Service as a network service user, and make a note of this directory path that they've created here for you. This is where they're going to install MongoDB. It's going to be under C, Program Files, MongoDB/server/4.0. And I recommend keeping to this exact same file path because we'll need it a little bit later on. So keep it the same and keep a note of it, and we're going to come back to it a little bit later on. So then you're going to select Next, and we're going to uncheck Install MongoDB Compass because we don't actually need it, and then click Next, and finally click Install to start the installation. And once installation has complete, simply click Finish and you'll exit out of the installation wizard. All right, so now that we've successfully installed MongoDB using the installer, if you now go into your C drive and you take a look at your program files, you should see a folder called MongoDB. And inside there's something called server, and then there's the version of the MongoDB that you installed. And then finally, we get access to our binaries. Now, the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to set up the data folder where MongoDB will save our databases on our local system. So I want you to go ahead into your C drive. So make sure that up here it says your C drive, and then you're going to create a new folder here, and it's going to be called data. And then inside that data folder, we're going to create a new folder called DB. And just make sure that you've typed everything exactly as I have, which is lowercase data, and then inside data, there's something called DB. And we're going to leave all of that empty. But just check up here to see that you've got exactly the same kind of file path and directories as I have. So inside your C drive, you've got a folder called data. Inside data, you've got something called DB. Now that we've successfully installed MongoDB, we have to get it set up so that we can use it easily through the hyperterminal. And in order to do that, we first have to check something. So if you head into your Explorer and just go into your C drive and then scroll down until you see Program Files, double click on that, and we're going to scroll down until we find MongoDB. Here it is, and then we're going to go inside that folder and then inside the folder called server. So now you should see a folder with a version number, and this corresponds to the rough version of your MongoDB, and this says 4.0. And we want to be able to set up a shortcut so that we can launch our mongo.exe and our mongod.exe straight from our hyperterminal using bash. And now I want you to open up your hyperterminal and just change directory to your home folder by typing in cd and then adding the tilde sign. And once you've navigated there, I want you to go ahead and create a new file called .bash_profile. And it has to be spelled exactly this way. And then hit enter to create it. And now that should be created. If we do an ls-a, we should be able to see it in our list of files here. And there it is, .bash_profile. So this is a hidden file that we've created, which is going to tell our hyperterminal that when it starts up And when we want to access Mongo and MongoD, we have a shortcut for it. So now that we've created that file, now we're going to edit it using Vim. So to do that, we're going to type Vim, and then we're going to specify the file that we want to edit, which was bash_profile. So now if you hit enter, this will now open up that file using the Vim text editor, which is a command line based text editor. Now, there's a lot of memes around the Vim editor, and it's because it's not a graphical user interface. So there aren't any buttons to click on, and it's a little bit more complex to get to grips with. But I'm going to quickly show you how you can use it in a very simple way. So firstly, in order to start actually be able to type anything in the Vim editor, we're going to hit the I key, so I for indigo, on your keyboard, and that will initiate the insert mode. And now you can actually start typing stuff into this editor. And you can either type this out, although it's kind of error prone. So I would recommend that you head over to the written installations for MongoDB for Windows. And there's a link to this in the course resources for this module. And I just want you to scroll down to this part where you see there's this alias MongoD, alias Mongo, and a file path that we've specified. And I just want you to go ahead and copy both of those two lines and then paste it into Vim. So you can either use the shortcut or you can simply just navigate to it from this little menu icon at the top. Now, the thing you have to change here is we saw earlier on what was the version that you saw under C Program Files MongoDB Server. And for me, it's 4.0. Now, if you're installing this at some point in the future, that might read 4.1 or 5.0. I just want you to change this part of the code to whatever it is you see there, so that they match, because this has to be an entire file path that leads to mongo.exe and mongodb.exe. So if you go ahead again, look inside your Explorer and you navigate from local disk C to program files, to MongoDB, to server, to 4.0, to bin, then you can see here is where our mongo.exe and mongodb.exe reside. So this file path is going to lead to those files, and we're creating simply an alias that makes it easier for us to work with it inside our hyper terminal. So if you need to edit this, then just go ahead and change these parts to whatever it is that you see in your version. And then we're going to go ahead and save and exit Vim, which can be a little bit tricky, but it's not too hard. You just have to hit escape to exit insert mode. And then we're going to type :WQ and then the exclamation mark. And now if you hit enter, you would have saved that file and you would have exited Vim. So now we're ready to test and see whether if our installation has succeeded. I want you to go ahead and close down your hyper terminal, and you're going to simply relaunch it. So now that we've restarted our hyper terminal, then it's time to test and see if our installation has succeeded. And we'll do that by writing mongo-version and hit enter. Now, if you see something that looks like this, where it says Mongo Shell version 4.0.3 or a newer version, but something that looks like this, then congratulations, you have completed all of the setup and installation of MongoDB, and you're ready to proceed to the next lesson. Now, if you see something else, such as bash, Mongo, not found, or something like that, where it doesn't look like this, then be sure to retrace your steps and maybe follow all of the instructions in the written tutorials, and just make sure that you haven't made any typos and anything that you're typing in looks exactly the same, or simply just copy and paste it from the instructions. But now that we've completed installation and setup, then you're ready to get started learning about MongoDB.